last time we talked, we had talked about obviously your journey from being an athlete,
Yep.
no longer being an athlete, and now coaching the game, and not just coaching the game, but now you like coaching students. Like you were a teacher, and now you're an admin, but you're still around kids, and you mentor and all that stuff, and you do AAU with the little kids. But the biggest thing in that, my guy Jared Hendricks, that I played college ball with, does a podcast called The Next Play. Just started it, but his first episode was about post-athletic depression.
Yeah,
it's a real thing, especially when you're a college athlete. And he talks about your identity and how your identity is wrapped up into so much of that sport that you were playing that you got a scholarship to do.
Absolutely.
But one of his things that he was saying was the only way to help to get past it and to start getting yourself back on your feet was to de-identify yourself from what that was. From whatever people identify you as, de-identify yourself and then try to re-identify yourself and find your niche in the world that doesn't necessarily consider you as Marquett the athlete. Now it's Marquett the coach. So what I want to know is what was your process of, and how long did it take, honestly, for you to de-identify yourself and disconnect yourself from being Marquett the athlete, and then trying to re-identify yourself as Marquett the coach, Marquett the teacher?
For me, I think my journey was a tad bit different than most. For several reasons, but I'm just gonna start by saying my spiritual walk really made it easy for me. I tell my athletes all the time now that you should find your identity in Christ, and He'll direct your path as to who you should be. We shouldn't, take labels from what other people do us, but we're all here to serve Christ. So that's our biggest identity, and if we can find joy in that, we won't wither to the storms of life when athletics are gone. But with that being said, I think I started to see my calling really early on. I wasn't a star like y'all, like you and Jared and plenty others. So my college career wasn't stellar. So I had some time to really sit back and think about what my calling was, and I felt a calling for mentoring kids back in high school. So it wasn't a big adjustment for me really. And I think another thing was sticking around the game. Sports was my thing, so having a career that dealt with sports made it easy too. But yeah, so I think that's what my journey was. Finding my identity in Christ, having that calling early, and then just staying around the game as much as possible kept me grounded. But I could definitely see how for the majority of guys, it can be a real traumatic thing because your identity has been wrapped up in it for so long. A lot of times it's afforded you opportunities.
Absolutely.
And so it's hard to let it go.
But see that's the thing though. Right there, you said it's hard to let it go, and it is hard to let it go. Because I can only speak from personal experience, and I think for me it's really hard. Because I came home. So like, had I stayed in Charlotte, if I could afford it, it would have been a little bit easier to de-identify and re-identify myself. But I came home. So when I came home, all people know me as
everybody sees you. Yeah, and like I said, it goes back to your career was much more stellar than mine. And I think the way yours happened, there were several layers of traumatic events. I mean, your career was cut short due to COVID. So that in itself is just a different ball game. That's something you could have not prepared for at all.
No, that's true.
So really, you were forced to make decisions before it was truly time, I would say. But yeah, and coming home made it different too, where people had such high expectations of you when it came to the athletics. So yeah, I get it for sure. With your situations, like I said, is a lot different than mine.
But you said something that to start it off when you were saying find your identity in Christ though.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, as we said the first time, that people that know, like, we're believers,
Mm-hmm.
and we wear it on our sleeve. That's not something that we hide.
Yeah.
But as of recent, like, it's one of those things where I find myself trying to get back to my root,
Mm-hmm.
which is in Christ.
Right.
I shared with you with the last message that we both witnessed or listened to.
Yeah, no doubt.
With Travis Green is, it was about labels, it was about
Mm-hmm.
identities,
It was. You're right.
and what people think of you. But
Mm-hmm.
I shared with you that Jesus already said that I am.
Yeah.
Because he said that I am and he lived in me, therefore I am too.
Right.
Right. So no, I'm not. Yes, I was that athlete, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I still am athletic. Like, obviously, like, I'm in the boxing thing, and I'm doing well for myself. But that's not all I am.
Yeah, no doubt.
Like, I have plenty of hats that I can wear, and I'm just trying to tap into that. But through Christ, like, he's going to show it to me, what exactly it is that I need to be doing. But I also can't sit idle.
Yeah.
And that's another thing, because, you can put your faith in wanting to be, re-identify yourself through Christ. But, as I always say, one of my favorites, like, faith without work is dead. So you have to do something for him to start directing your path. He's not going to give you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He's not gonna show it to you if you're gonna sit on your butt all day.
Yeah. There's work that are required. Yeah.
So I think that was that was one. Shout out to you, Hen. Call you Hen Dog.
Yes, sir. Jared Hendricks.
That's keep going, dog. Like, we definitely gonna tap in, do something, collab together. But that was good. I wish somebody would have talked to me about these things when I was in high school. Though.
Yeah, that's a good topic, man. And like I said, that's one of the things that I try to talk to my kids about. It's just finding. We coach from Baylor, Scott Drew, and Jerome Tang, now at Kansas State.
Yep.
They had what they call the culture of joy. So joy, Joy, Jesus, others, then yourself.
Right.
But it starts with our identity being in Jesus, and the earlier you can tap into that, the easier it'll be. But shout out to you, Hen, because that's a big thing, and a lot of kids do need to hear that and be able to get a head start on it.
Right. We talked about he talked about too in another video. Switching gears a little bit, he said it's good the big fish small pond syndrome. Right. And that's a big thing.
That's a real thing.
That's a real thing. But the thing that I liked about what he talked about was that stop being so scared to go out there and get out of that small pond. Go out there in the big water. Yeah. And just see what's out there. You know what I'm saying? And really stack yourself up with what's out there and get a real evaluation. Yeah. What can you say to younger athletes? And my show ain't just about the athletes, right? We use athletics to talk to everybody, to spread some light on everything. Yeah. Not just athletes. Because you got a new job. You left here. You're small pond. You're the big fish in this small pond. You left here, and now you're doing big things, right? You're becoming a bigger fish in bigger water. Yeah. So talk a little bit about getting out of that small pond, being a big fish, and just exploring everything, whether it comes to being an athlete, being a young athlete, whether it comes to being a young adult in a job setting, being a contributor to society in this world. Talk a little bit about that and what you feel, your take on the big fish, small pond syndrome.
Yeah, well, I think that another big saying we use with my program, and this is credit to Tyler Costin. He was the director of PGC basketball for a while. Now he does Savvy, Savvy Sports. And so I'm kind of under his tutelage right now, and he has the acronym Savvy, SAVI. The A in it is for adversity strengthens. And so we use that a lot with my programming. Absolutely. And saying that in order for you to grow, like, you got to do some things that are super uncomfortable. Like, growth only comes through adversity. Absolutely. How else can you get adversity than to get out your comfort zone? And again, for me, my life changed so much just when I made the move. And I wouldn't say that, Columbia is so much bigger than the Augusta area, but it took me out of my comfort zone. And that's why I really grew. So I would just encourage anybody, especially young athletes, do things that, going back to your identity thing. Just the other day, my leading scorer, I told him, like, why don't you run for student council or class president or get involved in different things in school? Didn't want to do it because he's not comfortable. But like, those are the things you can do at an early age, man, to really like set yourself apart and make it to where you learn how to put yourself in different rooms and different environments and get out of your comfort zone. Yeah. So again, shout out to Hen. He's absolutely right. You do need to venture out. Like I said, just outside of your comfort zone in general.
Absolutely.
That whole big fish in a small pond, and just realize that there's other things out there.
And see, the student council stuff, man, like, I did it in middle school.
I tried to tell you the same thing. I remember.
No, I did it in middle
those
school.
are the things that I did back in school, man. I appreciate the fact that I had good mentors that made me venture out. I used to try to tell you the same thing.
Yeah. No, I did it.
It's just all about getting outside of your comfort zone.
I did it, and you know what? It was very humbling. Because when I first started, I was like, I started early middle school. I think they let you start like 7th grade, maybe.
Mm-hmm. That's where you could start running.
And I ran for like, I don't know, something crazy like secretary or something, or treasurer, something like just real small. Mm-hmm. But it was super humbling because, like, my stats at that time, it's like, oh, he's a 7th grade, like, he's like one of the guys in the school.
Yeah.
He's a young guy, but, I was where I was around people that aren't athletes.
Yeah.
They care about different stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it was a whole, when we had student council meeting, it was a whole different ball game to me being in that locker room and with the people I hang out with every day to being in a meeting where, and I ain't trying to sound crazy, but like people who really, really care about grades, care about community, care about, everything. So like, not that I didn't care, but it just made me really stop for a second, stop being an athlete for a second, and start just being like a person, being a human.
Starting to have some different identities.
Yeah, right. So
things
just
you can lean on.
And it helped. It helped. And then obviously when I got 8th grade, I was running hard, campaigning hard to be president, and I won. And I came home, and I was so proud of myself, and Mama had already got the call, but she was kind of just waiting for me. It was like, anything you want to tell me? I was like, yeah. I want student council president. And you know how Mama is. She was so over the top happy, hugging. But she was already making something that I like. She do the little, I like cook carrots. She do it like with the brown sugar. Yeah, she was already making it because she already knew. I guess they already called her.
Yeah, somebody gave it a call.
Right. So she making it, it made me feel good. But then it wasn't just, it wasn't one of those things where it's like, okay, I know I made these promises, this, that, and third, but I started to kind of act on these promises, like more items in canteen. No, I couldn't buy it, but I start reaching and start talking to people that I wouldn't normally talk to.
Yeah. Hey,
like, what can we do to fulfill more items in canteen, whether it's a certain flavor of Airhead that they don't have already, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's begin
to build character.
Right, building character. And to be honest, those same relationships that I built in middle school, I still have them.
Right.
Like when it comes to like little stuff like, hey, like I need, advice on what to do with my kids as far as, because we think about daycare, what to do as far as putting one in daycare, just even for a little bit, as he gets a little older, he needs more kid interaction, like, and they just people who you would never think I would talk to.
Yeah, nah, you're right.
So that's dope.
I got a grind, I can't leave them behind. They said, boy, you the ticket, I ain't talking about funds.